It takes a lot to prepare for an entire school year, months of planning from administration, teachers and staff, and safety experts. The Ohio Education Association supports those professionals who work in the state's schools, colleges, and universities. And joining me now is the organization's president, Scott DiMaurio. Scott, you also taught social studies, right, at Worthington schools?
Yes, I did.
So you are in tune with the students of today. And, you know, the nightmare of today is that we hope it never happens here, but we're seeing it happen, an active shooter situation. How do the teachers and the schools prepare for something like that?
I'll tell you, I taught for 16 years high school social studies, most of my career in Worthington. I have two daughters who are recent graduates of the system. And a lot has changed just in the last few years since I was out of the classroom in response to some of the school shootings that have happened around the country. And some of the things that are happening that I see consistently across the board around the state, a real focus on training. Mm-hmm. It's a training protocol called ALICE that most school districts use. Mm-hmm. And it's really all about being prepared for an active shooter situation. And it's not just the teachers that are being trained and the staff, but it's also preparing students. So active shooter drills that are happening during the course of the year. It used to be that we just did tornado drills and fire drills. Now this is an integral part of the school year, just preparing for the worst, so that everybody, can rest assured that they're safe.
Sad that we have to do that, but something we absolutely must do. I think, has it changed over the years as far as the mentality, just in the last few years, by the way? Is it still kind of a lockdown situation, or is the mentality changing where, hey, let's not just run and hide, let's end the situation? Yeah,
I think based on the experience of some of the worst shootings, including what happened going back to Columbine and also in Newtown, that there's a recognition that it depends on the circumstance.
This is all involved in the training.
In the training, and there are times where it is appropriate to evacuate, and there's other times that it's appropriate to hide in place, and there's other times where teachers and students need to be ready to protect themselves actively. So, for example, I was talking to some teachers yesterday, and they were talking about how in their district, they have in every school classroom a set of supplies, including canned goods, so that there are some things that are heavy that students can throw at an intruder if it came to that.
Right, and again, sad that we have to have this conversation, but another horrible sign of the times is some companies are out there actually making and selling bulletproof backpacks. And you being a former teacher, what's the kind of the temperature of the students out there? Are they overly worried about this, or properly worried, if you will, or do they kind of not think too much about it?
Well, I think it depends on the student, and I know that there are some kids that, just the preparation. My worry is that sometimes we spend, this kind of time preparing as we should do, but that itself creates anxiety and creates worry and creates fear. What we need to be focused on, and what our members across the state do focus on, is just really making sure that every single student feels welcome so that they feel safe in school. A lot of the challenges that we have are not necessarily from outside intruders. It's when a member of the school community, a student, himself or herself, is feeling alienated or has a mental health issue. And so we have to make sure that we're paying attention and that we're making all students feel like they're at home, that there are adults that care about them. I think that's the most important school safety approach that we can take.
Yeah, because how many times, and not always, but have we said, oh, we should have known because of this or that, whether a kid's bullied or, like you said, feeling like an outcast. Do you guys kind of train teachers, or has that evolved over the years to kind of look for signs and even the subtle signs or symptoms of something that may become a problem with a particular student?
Yeah, we are, as an organization, don't do that kind of training ourselves, but we do advocate in a number of important ways. One is that we want to make sure that every school is equipped with counselors and nurses and social workers and mental health specialists who really are the experts in those areas, and they're training teachers and they're providing the other adults in the system with how to look for those kinds of warning signs. We also, it's really important for everybody to get to know every single one of their students individually. And part of what we do, and it's a big priority for our organization, we do some of this training directly, is helping people understand cultural competency. That we have students from a rich diversity of backgrounds, and we have to be attentive to their needs, that students from different cultures or different genders or different economic backgrounds, different races may have different needs, and so we have to be sensitive to that.
Are there challenges at the different levels between elementary, high school? I know you mainly focus on K through 12, but a college campus also. Some of these high schools are like campuses. Does that present a challenge when you're outside of the confinement of the walls?
Well, a lot of the changes that have happened over the last few years have been focused on infrastructure. And we've seen at all levels some real retrofitting of school buildings and classrooms. For example, in my district a couple of years ago, they changed all the entranceways so that everybody's coming in and leaving through one entrance, and that there is a vestibule and there's a screening process, and that people have to get buzzed in order to get into the building. Similarly, we've heard that you have an intruder in your hallway, but if you have to lock and unlock the door from the outside, then that creates an unsafe situation. And so a lot of schools have retrofitted their doors and their classroom setting so that they can make sure that it's a lot easier to secure those.
Are many schools, or do you recommend schools have their own security in some circumstances?
Many, yeah. We're an advocate, and it really depends on the culture of the district and what the local community wants and thinks is best for them. But we believe that school resource officers can be a tremendous support. When you have people whose job is to focus on safety and security, and at the same time, people who are in the schools and developing relationships so that they can help identify a threat before it gets out of hand, and support teachers, that can be really, really positive.
Thanks for the information. Appreciate it, Scott DiMaurio. Appreciate you coming in. Have a good school year as well. Thank you for joining us. You can join the conversation on social media using the hashtag InFocusOhio. We'll see you next week.